Hey everyone, today I want to talk about why with AI, philosophy has become an incredibly important subject to study. And I'll even go a bit stronger, maybe why it's the last subject worth studying. And I'll begin with a little story. So I have a friend who's a very accomplished philosopher and computer science. He's been a veteran in the ML world, and he's been studying philosophy academically and on his own for decades as well. He's recently been hired by a company to design its own chatbot, so you can think about it like that. And you might think, right, he's being hired for his technical expertise, that they're training a model from scratch, that they're doing some fancy architectural thing, at least he's touching the code. But it's actually because, and again, he's one of the world's leading ML experts, but he's actually been hired just to take an off-shelf model and to prompt it. So in other words, he was hired for his philosophical expertise, despite how advanced he was on the ML side. And so I want to draw a distinction now between the semantic world, the semantic way with words of engaging with the world, and the numeric way of engaging with the world, right? So the numeric way is on the foundation of the hard sciences, it's engineering, computer science, physics, whereas the semantic way is the foundation of the humanities. This is rhetoric, poetry, and the semantic way, this is my claim of why philosophy is going to become so important, it's going to become so much more powerful of a way to engage with the world, because for the first time in human history, I think the way that we best manipulate technology is the semantic way through these LLMs, and no longer the numeric way, or at least there's going to be a relative shift in power. And I'll just give you an example, or another example of this kind of Copernican shift in the 18th century. So Rousseau was writing his first discourses, and there was one paragraph where he was critiquing the hard sciences. So the first discourses is his critique about arts and the sciences. And Rousseau says, "What will we lose if philosophers never figured out how gravity works between bodies? What will we lose if philosophers never figured out how beetles are mating and how the mind communicates with the body?" And Rousseau's point, and he was right at the time, was that the hard sciences were kind of useless. You know, we spent 2,000 years at the point studying how beetles mate, and all the way from Aristotle and his advances in biology. What has that given us? And the answer, again, in the 18th century, correctly, was nothing. That these things are useless, they're impotent. And it's only been through technology in the last, let's say, 200 years that the numeric world, the hard science way of engaging with the world, has become incredibly powerful. Without understanding gravity, we couldn't have made airplanes, we couldn't have developed our current global communication network. Studying how beetles mate literally has produced non-toxic, superior pesticides, pest control. And of course, studying our relationship between our mind and our body and neural interfaces has literally made the blind see and the crippled walk, right? So it's Old Testament, biblically miraculous stuff. And my claim is that the same kind of shift is going to happen for those who are masters of the semantic mode of engaging with the world. So the semantic, the humanities way of engaging with the world, has always been powerful because it's given people control over the human world, right? And this is the easiest to see in rhetoric. And this is why, by the way, before, let's say, the 18th century, and you thought about what an elite education was. Today, that's STEM, right? The best minds go into STEM. But for the longest time, it was in the humanities. I think partially because of this kind of power. It's starting to rain very heavily. Now, my claim is that with AI, with LLMs, our ability to manipulate it will, as the example of my friend goes to show, will come from our semantic powers more so than our numeric powers, or at least the relative weight will change. And of course, I think philosophy is probably one of the best ways to train that semantic power. But this is actually, I think, the minor reason, right? The lesser of the two reasons why philosophy may be so important to study. Because in this case, I'm still painting the power of philosophy instrumentally, right? I'm still treating philosophy as what is called a techne, right? So techne means a craft or an art, and it's about instrumentally getting things done in the material world. But philosophy, I think, also has the power, or rather, is the only discipline that can give us phronesis. This is what technique is contrasted against, and that means practical wisdom. The things that we need to know to sort of live well. So here's a way to cut it. I couldn't care less, okay, who it is that solves cancer. Whether it's I that solves cancer, whether it's someone else, whether it's an AI that solves cancer. I just need cancer resolved. But there are many things, there are many truths in the world that I need to be the one holding the truths for it to work. So here's an example. How should I relate with my wife? Is my wife, let's say, a mere tool to get offspring? Is she a friend? Is she a business partner? Is she all of these things? Is she my equal? Is she my superior? Is she my inferior? These propositional statements, right, unlike the propositions around the treatment of cancer, I need to be the one who holds it in my soul for me to live a good life, if that makes sense. And because of this, I think your work in philosophy will never be made obsolete by AI, by even AGI. Because what AGI is, right? Another way to say AGI is to say the end of techne, the end of craft. Anything instrumental that you want done in the real world, a computer can do it better. But there are, right, and so we might, loosely split knowledge into these two kinds. Knowledge instrumentally held to get things done in the external world, right? What is the origin of cancer? What is its resolution? And knowledge that is held for its own sake. Knowledge that is held because in order to even be a human being, in order to act and live, you need to hold certain propositions. I make fun of the Stoics a lot, but here I actually think their model of the human soul can be helpful. Where they treat the human soul as a series of rational propositions, and that the point of Stoic philosophy is to correct the propositions that are wrong, right? So for example, you might think pain is an evil, pain is actually not an evil. We don't have to go into all of that. But what I'm trying to say here is that philosophy, at least part of what philosophy addresses, are these foundational claims you need to make a decision on and that you need to hold in order to live a good life. And it's not just instrumental knowledge, okay? And so those are the two reasons why I think philosophy has become more important in the age of AI, and also why it might be the last discipline worth studying, right? Because when AGI comes, again, it's the end of techne. You don't need to study computer science, you don't need to study the chemical engineering. These things can all be done better, but you still need to decide how to treat your friends, how to live life. Yeah, okay, I hope you found that interesting.